I never imagined that my simple act of kindness for a troubled girl would change my life forever. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The air was thick with unease. The sky, a bruised shade of gray, promised a storm. I was walking home, when I saw her, a girl, maybe 16, sitting alone on a bench. Her eyes, those haunting pools of despair, drew me in like a moth to a flame. I felt the weight of my own worries slip away for just a moment. I approached cautiously, every step an echo of my heartbeat. My hands trembled slightly as I offered her a warm smile. "Hey, are you okay?" I whispered, my voice barely above a murmur. She looked up, tears glistening like fragile glass in her big blue eyes. I felt my chest tighten. "I told you to leave me alone." She spat, yet her voice trembled with pain. There was something in her silence, an unspoken story lurking beneath her defiance. I couldn't walk away. Something deep within me urged me to stay. The world around us blurred into a dull hum. Sounds faded. Only her pain remained vivid, the bench creaked under the weight of our shared silence. I sat down beside her, our bodies just inches apart, like two stars trapped in different orbits. I wanted to reach out, to touch her shoulder and let her know she wasn't alone. But what if she recoiled? What if she shattered like glass? The thought paralyzed me. Then, without warning, came the first drops of rain, sharp against our skin, cold as regret. "Just go," she murmured, but even then, I noticed how her voice quavered, betraying her storm of emotions. I clutched my own palms in the downpour, feeling the warmth of life slipping through my fingertips, pooling in the cracks of her heart. "You're not alone," I said, my voice stronger now. My words hung in the air, a fragile promise amidst the chaos. "Whatever it is, I'm here for you." I watched as she turned away, chest heaving. The deeper I looked into her eyes, the more I felt the world around us spin. What haunted her? What secrets did she hold? Suddenly, she swiveled back toward me, wide-eyed and desperate. "You have no idea who I am," she cried, her voice a torrent of fear and fury. In that moment, I saw vulnerability stripped bare. Was there something more? I held my breath, the air thick with tension. I was only trying to help, yet I could sense the danger swirling, like a noose tightening around my throat. Then she whispered something that sent chills racing down my spine, a chilling confession that would shatter the fragile connection we were forging. "They're watching me and you shouldn't be here." Time froze. My heart raced. Darkness enveloped us. Suddenly, I wasn't just a passerby anymore. I was entangled in her world of mystery. And as the sky unleashed a torrent, I felt my fate intertwining with hers in ways I could never have anticipated. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The rain fell harder, drenching the ground beneath us, turning the world into a blur of dark colors and noise. I felt detached from reality, the pulse of my heart thumping loudly against my ribs. England was notorious for its rain, but this storm felt different, charged, electric, like the sky was reflecting the turmoil surging between us. Who's watching you? I managed to ask, my voice barely rising above the sound of raindrops pounding against the pavement. My question hung in the air, laced with a mixture of fear and curiosity, sharp and unsettling. Her eyes darted around, glancing toward the streets and the shadowy figures that followed the holograms flickering endlessly on the shop windows. I had no idea who she feared, but her anxious gaze spoke volumes. Suddenly, the girl stood up, her whole demeanor shifting from vulnerable to frantic. "I have to go," she whispered, her words laced with urgency. "Wait." I said, jumping up and reaching for her arm. My fingers brushed against her skin, and the contact sent a jolt through me. Neither of us could ignore the connection building amidst the chaos. Please, just talk to me. You can't leave, not now. I want to help you. For a moment, it appeared she might relent, the fight draining from her posture, replaced by something almost resembling trust. But then her expression faltered, and the fear crept back in, clouding her features. I could see the struggle within her. Part of her wanted to open up, but the other part screamed to flee. They'll hurt you, she finally said, biting her lip as if tasting the weight of her confession. You don't understand. I can't let them take you, too. I won't let anyone hurt me, I assured her, my words solid but my heart felt like a feather caught in a whirlwind. I was drawing upon a bravado I didn't entirely feel, but the intensity of her fear ignited something deep within me. But I can't just walk away. Not when you need someone. In that moment, I saw it. Her eyes softened, revealing an undercurrent of hope battling against despair. But before she could respond, a flash of lightning zigzagged across the horizon, illuminating a figure standing just past the streetlight, half hidden in shadow. My breath caught in my throat. The girl's face paled even further. It's them, she gasped, and just like that, the fragile sense of connection we shared shattered under a weight of impending danger. Panic surged through my veins, and without thinking, I stepped closer to her, shielding her from whatever threat lingered in the shadows. The stranger seemed unmoving, yet the tension in the air thickened like a storm cloud ready to burst. I could feel the fear radiating off the girl, and it only made my resolve stronger. Stay close, I murmured, grabbing her hand. To my surprise, she didn't pull away. Instead, she tightened her grip as if I were her lifeline, anchoring her to this moment, to some semblance of safety. Just then, a nearby car drove past, illuminating the figure's face in a brief flash. My breath hitched in my throat. It was a boy, someone I recognized from school, a flicker of familiarity amidst the chaos. What was he doing here? And why did it feel like he was watching us? Let us go, the girl urged, her eyes darting nervously. Panic was evident in her shaking form. We started walking briskly down the street, my heart hammering in rhythm with our footsteps. I had no idea where we were headed, but every instinct told me to keep her close. Please, just tell me what is going on, I insisted, searching for any hint of clarity we could cling to amidst the confusion. Who are they? I can't, it's too dangerous, she stammered, swallowing hard, tears mingling with the rain on her cheeks. I should never have let you in. You shouldn't have spoken to me. With that, the weight of her words hung heavily between us as we rounded a corner into an alley, shrouded by darkness. I could feel the energy of fear raging in my chest, conflicting with the train of emotions racing toward hope. A warmth bloomed within me, igniting a soft ember of courage, a desire to protect her despite the chaos that loomed. As we paused for a moment to catch our breath, she looked at me, her eyes wide and pleading. You have to forget about me. The rawness of her plea pierced my heart. Forget about her? How could I? No, I said firmly. I want tea. I can't leave you like this, not when you need someone. Whatever it is that's chasing you, we'll face it together. Her expression faltered, and just for a brief moment, I thought I could see a flicker of appreciation amidst the shadows of despair. But then, something skittered across the alley entrance, another shadow sweeping in, and the girl flinched, her eyes wide with terror. What is happening? I whispered, my voice shaky. The darkness felt heavier now, and that's when I felt it, a faint rustling, someone lurking just outside our hiding spot. That I turned, my heart racing. This was no longer just about a troubled girl and a simple act of kindness. The stakes had risen dangerously high, and before I could comprehend the magnitude of that revelation, the alley fell silent, and the heavy weight of fear settled heavily once again in the space between us. And then came the voice, resonating like a death knell against the backdrop of rain-soaked despair, you shouldn't have followed her. I never imagined that my simple act of kindness for a troubled girl would change my life forever. The voice cut through the air, deep and commanding, halting my breath. I turned abruptly, scanning the shadows as if they might surrender their secrets. But the darkness held its secrets close, wrapping itself around the figure that had spoken. A chill trickled down my spine, and I felt the girl beside me stiffen, her grip on my hand tightening to the point of pain. "Who are you?" I demanded, trying to sound braver than I felt, though my heart quaked beneath my ribs. "Just a friend," the voice replied with unsettling calm. The darkness shifted, and as the figure stepped into the dim light, I recognized him. Darren, a classmate known more for his cold demeanor than his friendliness. He leaned against the damp brick wall, casually, as if he hadn't just sent a shiver of dread through me. "A friend?" The girl interjected, her voice trembling with defiance. "You mean a threat?" Darren chuckled softly, and the sound was devoid of warmth. "Call it what you will, but you're in over your heads, you two." His gaze flickered between us, scrutinizing the bond we shared, the fear that clung to us like the rain on our skin. "You should have left her alone. It's safer that way." "Safer?" I scoffed, desperation fueling my rebuttal. "What do you know about safety? You think hiding in the dark like some creep makes anything better?" "Creep?" he echoed, his eyes narrowing. "Right, let us talk about creeps. You have no idea what's out there, or how deep this goes." He stepped forward, shrouded in an aura that wrapped around him like a cloak of authority. "But you will, if you stick around." The girl's breath hitched beside me. I spared a glance, tracking the flicker of fear dancing across her features. The resolve I had felt earlier flickered uncertainly as if battling against an enormous wave of anxiety. "Don't listen to him," she whispered urgently. "We need to go. Now." But Darren lingered, his presence an oppressive weight. "You really think there's any escaping this?" he mused, voice dripping with dark amusement. "They're watching you both, you know. Not just from the shadows, but from every street corner." The realization hit me like a punch. "What do you mean?" I asked, my voice faltering. Had the boy I'd once barely acknowledged in school turned into a harbinger of dread? "Who's watching us?" "Why, because she's important," he interrupted, eyes glinting with a knowing malice. "More than you realize. And they've already seen you getting too close." With a jolt, the gravity of his words bore down on me, stifling the light of hope I had clung to so desperately. My instincts screamed at me to get the girl out of here, to find safety in the distance. But her hand in mine was an anchor amidst the rising tide of despair. "Stop!" she cried out, her voice cracking with desperation now. "Just leave us alone." For a moment, silence enveloped us, thick and suffocating. The rain continued to fall, sometimes pounding against the pavement, sometimes whispering in soft rhythm, and with it came fragments of memories, the kindness I had shown her, the fragile bond we had formed. What had I stepped into? Darren seemed amused, a wicked smile dancing at the corners of his lips. "You have no idea how deep this goes, do you?" he drawled. "But I'll give you a little hint. All those whispers in the hall, all those rumors, they're real. And you, brave boy, have just signed up for more than you bargained for." The weight of his words settled like an anchor in my stomach, pulling me under. I glanced at the girl beside me, the worry etched deeply into her beautiful features. I could feel her heart racing, resonating with my own, lost in fear and uncertainty. "Let her go," I said, my voice trembling despite my bravado. A surge of protectiveness warred with the anxiety swelling within me. "This is between you and her. I won't let you manipulate her anymore." Darren shrugged, as if the stakes were a mere game to him. "It's not manipulation when it's pure survival," he stated, his tone suddenly serious. "You should rethink your definition of safety." "Rethink?" I echoed, heart pounding. "What do you expect me to do? Walk away?" His smile widened, unnerving and unkind. "Exactly. Because it's the only way you're going to keep her safe." Before I could respond, a distant cacophony broke through the stillness, a chorus of voices echoing from the mouth of the alley. I felt the girl shudder next to me, and for a moment, panic surged, washing over me like a rogue wave. "What is happening?" she whispered, her voice faded, almost a ghost of its former self. That I turned to the entrance of the alley, where shadows began to converge, figures indistinguishable yet approaching ominously. "You have to trust me," I murmured urgently, my mind racing. "We need to move, now." But just as we turned, Darren's voice sliced through the air like a knife. "Too late," he said simply, the hollow ring of truth echoing chillingly between us. "They're here." And as the shadows deepened and pulsed toward us, I realized with stark clarity that we were caught in something far beyond my understanding, something that threatened to entwine our lives in ways I never could have imagined. Before the darkness swallowed us whole, the girl cast one last, lingering look at me, uncertainty and fear coursing through her eyes. I knew then that our choices had just shifted, into a maze we might never escape, and that heart-wrenching truth hung in the air like the gathering storm, leaving us teetering on the brink of a revelation that could change everything and possibly destroy us both. The shadows drew closer, morphing into indistinct shapes that crawled through the dim light. My heart raced faster, the rhythm echoing in my ears like a warning bell, and I found myself squeezing the girl's hand tighter as if my grip could somehow shield us from the impending doom lurking just beyond our view. "Please," she breathed, her eyes darting around, searching for an escape. "What do we do?" I could feel the warmth of her palm against mine, another anchor amidst the dread, and yet I had no answers. The air thickened with tension, amplifying the weight of Darren's taunts that still hung between us, riddled with implications of unseen threats. The distant murmur of voices grew more pronounced, drifting like smoke through the twisting alleyway. "Stay behind me," I instructed, trying to keep my tone steady. Confidence was a thin veneer for my own spiraling fear, but I couldn't let her see the chinks in my armor. I stepped forward, challenging the encroaching darkness. "Who is there?" I called into the chaos, my voice attempting to mask the uncertainty boiling within. Silence followed, pregnant with menace. Then, a figure emerged from the shadows, stepping into the flickering light cast by a far-off street lamp. It was a girl around our age, her hair wild and framed by the glimmering rain. Her eyes sparkled with a mix of fear and defiance as they locked onto mine. "Run!" she screamed, and with that single command, she dashed past us, her footfalls muffled by the wet ground. Behind her came a chorus of voices drawling, urgent, almost taunting, washing over me like a tide. "Go! Go!" shouted Darren, surprise momentarily stripping away his facade of calm. But his command was drowned out by the impending rush of figures emerging from every crevice of darkness, weaving through shadows and converging toward us. Instinct kicked in. I turned towards the girl at my side, ready to bolt with her, but she hesitated, her eyes wide. "What if we get caught?" The fear was palpable in her voice, entwined with hope and desperation. "If we stay here, we will," I insisted, pulling her hand, my body tensed for flight. And suddenly, we were moving, racing down the alley, the sounds of pursuit close behind us, pounding against the damp walls. With every step, I fueled my thoughts with the memory of her smile, fragile yet unwavering, reminding me why I fought for her in the first place. We couldn't let fear steal that away from us. Brian's and Allison's faces flashed through my mind, remembering their laughter, the kindness that sparked in my heart long before our lives took this dark turn. They would never forgive me if I let this girl slip away. But the chase was relentless. I could hear their footsteps behind us, growing louder, as if they thrived off our fear. "Where do we go?" she gasped through labored breaths. "Anywhere but here," I shouted, determination coursing through my veins. We darted down another alley, the narrow corridors a wounded vein in the city, leading us deeper into uncertainty. We stumbled into a small nook, large enough for a fleeting breath between us and the approaching chaos, and I pressed my back against the cold, unyielding bricks. "What if they find us?" she whispered, so quietly that I barely heard over the thunder of our pounding hearts. "Then we fight," I replied, the words spilling out in a mix of bravado and tremor. It was a promise to myself more than her. I won't let anything happen to you. But the flickering hope of safety fizzled as shadows danced closer. Some voices still called out, tauntingly, echoing in the hollowness around us. I could feel her body trembling against mine, the weight of her fear mingling with my own, and then, amidst the murmuring chaos, I heard a faint whimper, something soft and agonizing slicing through the air. My heart dropped. "Did you hear that?" I asked, my fear morphing into sheer determination. Before she could respond, a figure fell into our hiding place, collapsing against the opposite wall, gasping for air. It was the wild-haired girl from earlier, haunted, terrified, her eyes darting wildly. "They're coming. They're right behind me." Her voice wavered, a chorus of fear punctuating her words. Who is coming?" I pressed, gripping her shoulders, desperate for clarity amidst the chaos. The girl looked at us, eyes wide and shimmering with something akin to anguish. "The ones who are watching, they hunt us," she stammered, each word a battle as she fought to pull herself together. They want to recruit." "Recruit?" I asked, blinking in disbelief. "For what? What are you talking about?" The wild-haired girl drew a shaky breath, closing her eyes briefly as if attempting to gather herself. "There's a war brewing, and they're looking for fighters, people like us. They can sense when you're different," she gasped, her voice fraying. "That's why they're after you too." My stomach dropped at the implications, but before I could respond, the voices surged back into focus, echoing down the alley like a chorus of hounds led by a sharp whistle. We had to go. We had to run. Suddenly, the weight of my choices settled heavily on my shoulders like a shroud. The girl beside me was trembling, the wild-haired girl's message starting to crystallize into something far more sinister than mere threats. Their hunt was no coincidence. We had stepped into something that could consume us, and just as we prepared to bolt once again, seeking refuge from the encroaching darkness, a figure appeared at the mouth of the alley, a familiar silhouette, eyes glinting with something I couldn't decipher. It was Darren, stepping back into the light, yet he was not alone. I stumbled back, shock erupting as everything seemed to grow darker, pulling us into a spiral of fear mingled with betrayals yet to come. In his wake, shadows seemed to gather, ready to reveal secrets and lies I was not equipped to face. And just as realization dawned, undercurrents of dread locked me in place, barely breathing as his next words slipped into the air like poison. "Now, let us talk about your future." The shadows threatened to swallow us whole, inching closer as I grappled with Darren's unexpected presence. "Your future," I repeated, the words lingering on my tongue like a bitter taste. No part of me wanted to acknowledge what that might mean, especially with the two girls standing with me, trembling, their innocence caught in the crossfire. "Yes, your future," Darren said, stepping further into the alley, his voice low and smooth, laced with confidence that was unnerving. He gestured behind him as more figures began to materialize in the dim light, their faces hidden yet their intent palpable. "You have skills we need, and trust me, you want to be on the winning side." My heart raced, the implications of his words starting to unfold like dark film strips in my mind. Each moment spent alongside Brian and Allison replayed like haunting reminders of what was at stake, not just my own life but the lives of everyone I cared about. "Stay away from us," I shot back, feeling my grip on the girl's hand tighten as if it could shield our fragile bond against his predation. I wanted nothing more than to run away from Darren, away from the dread that seeped into every crack of our reality. "Fighting it won't change anything," he replied, a hint of amusement dancing in his tone. "You're already far too deep." Then, turning to the wild-haired girl who had disrupted our escape, he smirked. "Especially you, Lily." The name pierced the air, and I could see the girl stiffen, recognition flooding her features. It was a ghost echoing from a past we hadn't begun to understand. "You know my name?" she asked, her voice shaking despite her resolve. "You're a special case," he replied, and his eyes glinted in the fractured light with something more than malice, curiosity, perhaps. "I say you've made quite a name for yourself in the circles that matter." What circles? What do you want with us? I pushed, determination mingled with the urgency of our perilous situation. Behind me, the girl's fear had twisted into something else, an ember of possibility igniting within her. We need fighters, Darren replied, ignoring my challenge. Those willing to step into the fray, to stand against the forces gathering beyond the veil. The ones we've barely managed to hide from until now. He paused, and the air thickened, swarming with the weight of impending dread. And the two of you fit perfectly into our plans. I wanted nothing more than to turn and run, but the gravity of his words held me in place, forcing me to confront a greater fear, the one that whispered the possibilities of a new kind of life, one I never asked for. Was it true? Were we truly different? Before I could process the depths of his threat, Lily spoke up, her voice breaking through the tension. I'll never join you, she said fiercely, defiance sparking behind her fear. Darren shrugged as if it were all a mere formality. Not an option. We've all seen what happens when one attempts to flee the call to arms. His eyes flickered to me, a challenge wrapped in intrigue. What about you? You'll join us willingly, or we'll take matters into our own hands. No. You've got it wrong. I shouted, fighting the rising tide of despair. We're not soldiers in your war. We're just kids trying to survive. Children shouldn't be out in the dark, chasing shadows. Darren took a step forward, an unsettling smile on his lips. What if I told you that following the right path could mean saving your friends and family? He paused, gauging my reaction. Allison and Brian, they're bystanders who don't comprehend the risks. Fear tightened its grip on my heart. I thought of my friends, their laughter turned to whispers as I recalled their warm faith in me. The thought of betraying them to ensure safety was a bitter pill to swallow, yet it gnawed at my conscience. But before I could voice my disapproval, another voice broke through the growing tension, a voice I recognized all too well. You can't trust him. It was Brian, emerging from the shadows behind Darren, his expression fierce and protective. Leave them alone. Look what the cat dragged in. Darren said, feigning surprise, but his eyes glimmered with a newfound playfulness. Brian. I called, relief flooding my voice, but it was quickly overshadowed by a growing dread as I realized the precarious position we were all in. You shouldn't be here. I warned, studying the tension pooling between Darren and my friend. The shadows seemed to thicken, as if waiting for a spark to ignite them into chaos. Darren took a casual step back, assessing Brian as if he were a spider drawn to an unguarded prey. Ah, but here we are, a potential choice for our little gathering. The questions linger: will he join, or will he fall the same way most do? Don't you dare. I found myself shouting, truly frightened. You don't have to hurt him. Do I really need to point out how tenuous the situation is? Darren replied, his calm voice cutting through the air like ice. Join us, and you can fight back against the darkness. Fight with fear and heart what's left of it against those lurking shadows. The alley seemed to constrict around us, the stakes becoming clearer than ever. The air crackled with impending violence, a crescendo of choices that could end in bloodshed or betrayal. In the loom of fate, the girl beside me squeezed my hand tighter, her breath coming fast as she studied my face, searching for resolve. The sensation of dread morphed into one of urgency. Shadows danced at the edges of our rendezvous, the uncertainty forcing decisions with consequences that would rip through our lives. I can't join you, I said, my voice stronger, more defiant, as the weight of my companions pushed me to stand for them. All we've ever wanted was to be left alone. Darren's laugh was chilling, reverberating through the shadows. Sometimes, the fight finds you. Choose wisely. And as he turned, darkness shifting behind him, I felt the weight of our decisions, a choice I had no time to fully understand. That's when it all became crystal clear. Our lives had just shifted into new, treacherous pathways, and as he stepped back into the gloom, I knew that none of us would emerge unchanged, and yet, dread gathered within me as the realization struck: neither Brian nor I were truly safe. The final words I shared with Darren echoed in my mind, weaving a tapestry of fate and looming chaos. Your future won't be as simple as you think. The alley, a narrow chokehold of despair, grew colder around us as both courage and fear twisted together like unshelled threads. An unexpected quest beckoned, and before I could grasp its meaning, a familiar voice cut through the silence once more, "You shouldn't have rejected him." And there, hidden in the one place I thought I could find refuge, a figure emerged from the shadows one I never expected to see again. An unwelcome reminder of betrayals and hidden truths lingered in the air, stirring confusion amid the wind. "Because you're going to need me where this is headed," the voice said, chilling my very heart, and realization swept over me, a terrible truth waiting to unfurl, dragging us deeper into the war we had yet to comprehend. The darkened alley seemed to constrict further as the figure stepped into the fray, their outline becoming clearer with each heartbeat. I felt the air thicken with apprehension, a heavy blanket of fear settling over us. My mind spun, unable to process the sudden influx of emotions, a mix of dread and disbelief curling around my heart like tightly wound vines. The figure breathed, their voice laced with familiarity that made my skin crawl. "You didn't think you could escape me that easily, did you?" Recognition blurred the edges of my vision as I took in the gaunt face and hollow eyes of Sam, a ghost from my past, a fragment of a life I had tried to leave behind. He was someone I had once cared for, torn apart by a shared darkness that still swirled around us, heavy and unyielding. I didn't want to see you again," I stammered, taking a half-step back, instinctively trying to shield Lily and the others behind me. The once vibrant memory of our friendship now cast a long shadow across my heart, tangled with bitterness and betrayal. "Neither did I," Sam sneered, stepping closer as if daring me to flinch. "But here we are, right where we started." His gaze flickered to Brian, then to Darren, lingering just a moment longer, an unspoken understanding weaving between the three of them. "I see you've made some new friends. What do you want?" My voice shook, anger bubbling up as I fought against the rising tide of fear. "We don't owe you anything." "You owe me everything," he spat back, each word dripping with insistence. "My mistakes created the chaos you're now living in. You think rejecting Darren will save you? You're blind to the storm brewing. You'll only drag others into it. Do you even hear yourself?" I shot back, the heat of the moment slowly morphing into something colder. "All you've ever brought is pain, Sam. I want to let you back and stop." Brian's voice cut through the tension, sudden and fierce. I hadn't even realized until that moment how tightly I'd held my breath, waiting for the next move. Listen to him. I think he is trying to warn us." "What?" I turned to him, disbelief etched on my face as I processed his words. "You can't be serious. We've been thrown into this mess without a choice, haven't we?" Brian pressed, his eyes flicking to Sam, searching for meaning. "Maybe he is saying something we need to hear. There's a lot at stake here. It's not about what he says, it's who he is." I protested, unable to reconcile the past with the present. "Sam is just a lie wrapped in pretty words, am I?" Sam interjected, a sharp smile flickering across his lips. "I know what's coming, Elle. You're being pulled deeper into a war that you will not survive alone." He turned to look directly at Darren, who remained silently observing the exchange with an unsettling smirk. "And you know it too." A silence stretched between us, suffocating and charged with potential violence. I could feel Lily's hand trembling in mine as her wide eyes contrasted with Brian's burning resolve. The air thickened around us, becoming overwhelming, the tension palpable as if it were alive. "What other choices do we have?" I finally asked, grappled by the bleakness of our reality. "We can't trust anyone here." "Trust is a luxury we can't afford, but we need allies," Brian countered. "Maybe his knowledge could maybe—" I interjected, my heart pounding at the very suggestion. "You're willing to throw caution to the wind based on maybe? After everything he's done?" As if summoned by my words, the shadows deepened, and a chill skittered down my spine. Sam stepped closer, lowering his voice to a conspiratorial whisper. "Darren is right about one thing, you're not in control of your fate here. You're being watched. They know about your abilities, L. They know about all of us. And soon, the choice will be taken from you. You think you're helping? I shot back, my voice rising, betrayed by the tremor that belied my anger. You're only digging the grave deeper. A flicker of something desperation, perhaps crossed his face, quickly masked by the remnants of malevolence. I can help you, he insisted. Earnestly. But it has to be with my guidance together, we can find a way to fight back before it's too late. The silence that followed was suffocating. I glanced at Lily, her face twisted in uncertainty, an unspoken question hung between us, hidden beneath layers of fear and hope. It sparked something inside me, a flicker of possibility amid despair. Why should we trust you? I challenged, my voice barely more than a whisper. Because if you don't, you may lose everyone you love, he replied, an unsettling intensity washing over him. They're coming for you. Then, almost as if the universe conspired against me, my phone buzzed violently in my pocket, the sound erupting like a firework in the dense fog of uncertainty. My heart raced as I fished it out, gripping it tight in trembling fingers. The message was simple, stark in its clarity: your time is running out. They're coming for you. A wave of nausea crashed over me as I looked up at the others. The moment collided with revelation, each second burning brightly against the impending darkness. What do we do? I breathed, the knowledge that everything had changed slicing through the air. What else can we do? Sam replied, a hint of resolve flickering in his eyes. We fight back. And there it was, the choice that would begin to unravel our destinies. As I stood at the precipice of this new reality, the shadows danced around us, hungry and relentless. I could feel tension strumming like a taut wire ready to snap, igniting a path we were all too afraid to take. The flickering hope of survival battled against the weight of choices. I had no way of knowing how fragile that hope would turn out to be. There, amid the chaos, with shadows creeping closer, I felt the world shift beneath our feet. The fight was coming, and we were at the center of it whether we liked it or not. As I braced myself for the storms ahead, the final crack of an ominous voice echoed in the corners of my mind: you cannot escape the past. And as the chilling truth sunk in, I became acutely aware our lives would never be whitewashed again. The sound of my racing heart drowned out the murmurs of the city around us, the night becoming a canvas washed in anxiety and uncertainty. I felt the anxiety buzzing in my veins, threatening to suffocate me as the shadows encroached. I glanced at Lily, her face pale and fearful, before darting my gaze back to Sam. His presence was a palpable reminder of the unrelenting chains of the past that I had fought so hard to shatter. The fight? I echoed, struggling to grasp the meaning laced through his words. What fight? You still haven't told us what we're really up against. Look, we can't exactly wait here to find out, he shot back, the urgency tightening the air around us. They have been alerted by now that someone started digging into things they didn't want uncovered. Who are you talking about? Darren finally broke his silence, his eyebrows knitted in concern as he regarded Sam. And why should we believe anything you say? I'm not here for your approval, just survival. There are things about this city you don't comprehend. People have been lost to this fight long before you came here. Do you think those who possess power will let you walk away unscathed? He cast a sidelong glance toward Lily, the intensity in his gaze slipping momentarily. What about her? I demanded, instinctively stepping closer to Lily. My motherly instincts surged forth as I felt the fierce urge to shield her each time shadows danced near. She's the light, Sam returned carefully, a flicker of something akin to regret crossing his face. But light attracts darkness. That's why you need to act before it's too late. Skepticism gnawed at me, filling my thoughts with questions, but I couldn't dismiss the truth embedded in his words. The city felt oppressive, thick with secrets that lurked behind every corner. The shadows seemed to coalesce around, whispering of long-held troubles breaking the surface. What do you propose we do? I finally asked, my voice shaking as uncertainty bubbled into the open. I know a place, a safe house. It's the only option if we want to gather our strength, strategize, and protect her. He nodded toward Lily, brow furrowing in earnest. In this city, safety can't be taken for granted. But for you to even consider it, you need to trust me. There it was again, trust, an elusive concept that felt like grasping at smoke. Still, as the reality of our circumstances washed over me, I sensed the urgency of the moment. With every heartbeat, the danger pressed in tighter. Darren hesitated at my side, his expression troubled. Being brought together with Sam feels like a gamble we can't afford, he murmured, meeting my eyes with an intense stare. But if there's even a chance, we can't let fear lead us any longer. Seeding a sense of hope, Brian stepped forward beside me. It might be our only choice, he said, nodding toward Sam. If he's telling the truth, listen to me carefully, all of you, Sam cautioned, his gaze washing over each of us with a strange intensity. You'll need to be on high alert, because no one can be trusted. They'll attempt to manipulate our fears to fracture our bond. Stay close to each other and wield your strength. It's your only way to break through. Is this really the best step? Lily whispered, clutching my hand tighter. I can feel something bad. I felt it too. The shadows seemed heavier as we leaned into this uncertainty. But what choice do we have? I implored, meeting Sam's gaze with fierce determination. I needed clarity, strength. I had to create a safety net for Lily, something stable amid chaos. In a moment that felt achingly sacred, Sam smiled, the movement painfully human against the backdrop of the darkness surrounding us. Then let us go. Time is of the essence. Pushing through the alley that had once felt familiar, I began to lead the group with a flicker of confidence, fueled by love and resolve. Each step echoed with footsteps of the past, mixed with new commitment to carve a different path. As we made our way through the labyrinthine streets cloaked in shadows, the air hummed with anticipation. Every corner we rounded seemed to close in on us, the hushed whispers rising in urgency. I glanced back at Sam, his silhouette both a reminder of shadows and a signal of raw possibility. Then we stumbled upon a figure standing at the intersection, illuminated by flickering streetlights. It was a girl, shrouded in a thick, tattered coat, her eyes sunken and wide, filled with wild apprehension. The very embodiment of lost hope. "Who are you?" I called out, disbelief creeping into my tone, my heart racing at her sudden appearance. She stepped closer, and a spark of recognition lit through the fog of my mind. "Elle," she breathed, her voice hoarse yet familiar. "You have to listen, they're coming for you." And just like that, the curtains of our fragile hope thickened, unveiling a harrowing truth that spun my world off its axis. As that chilling realization settled in, I felt reality shift beneath my feet, its bitter weight crashing down as I faced the undeniable fact that the past was no longer behind me. It was right here, waiting to pull us into its depths. The air hung thick with unspoken fear and a sense of impending doom as I stared at Elle, her breath coming in ragged gasps. The reality of her words pierced through the chaos of my thoughts, leaving me breathless for entirely different reasons. "Who's coming for us?" I demanded, my voice shaking. Elle's eyes darted nervously, as if she could already see shadows creeping closer in the darkness. "The White Masks," she replied, her eyes widening with terror. "They know what you're doing, and they won't stop until they silence you. They thrive on fear, on control. You must leave this city." Darren stepped forward, his brow furrowing. "And how do you know all this?" "I was one of them," Elle admitted, the weight of her confession crashing over me like a wave. "I escaped, but only just. They demanded loyalty, and if you resist, they make an example of you." I felt a chill sweep through my veins, the echoes of her words wrapping around my mind as fear gripped my chest. Could this girl truly lead us to safety, or was she just another piece in the game's brutal gamble? Lily tightened her grip on my hand, her pulse racing, the tremor in her fingers a mirror of my own anxiety. "Elle, can you help us?" she asked softly, her voice barely more than a whisper. Elle hesitated, looking over her shoulder as if the shadows themselves were listening. I can show you the way, but it won't be easy. You need to trust me, and you need to move quickly. She gestured down the street, the flickering lights casting an eerie glow around her. The safe house is just a few blocks away, but they'll be tracking you soon. My heart pounded as I considered our options. Trusting the girl who had once been part of the very darkness we feared felt like standing at the precipice of a deep chasm, unsure if the ground beneath us would hold firm. Yet, I couldn't ignore the flickering spark of hope that her presence ignited, a thread tying us to possibility. Sam, I turned to him, desperate for his input. What do you think? We've already come this far, he said, his voice steady despite the apprehension painted across his features. If Elle has escaped them, she knows the danger better than we do. We'd be foolish to let this opportunity slip away. Darren nodded in agreement, although doubt shone in his eyes. But we need a plan. We can't just rush in blindly. I'll guide you, Elle assured us, her intensity glowing with a strange fervor. Trust in each other and keep your eyes open. They want to tear you apart. Watch for the signs. With hesitant resolve, I stepped closer to the girl who had once found herself lost in shadows. Okay, lead the way, I said, drawing a deep breath as the weight of responsibility settled on my shoulders. As we continued forward, the darkness wrapped around us like a shroud, each step bringing us deeper into the unknown. An unease danced along my spine, reminding me of the lingering danger that could materialize at any given moment. The streets felt alive with dangers unseen, each alley an echo of fear and loss. Uncertainty gripped my heart, but I pushed it aside, holding tightly to the thread of hope that gently tugged at the corners of my mind. Just when I thought we had picked up pace, the night split with blinding headlights as a black SUV crushed through the stillness, its engine roaring like a beast from the depths. My heart stuttered in my chest, pounding as fear seized my limbs. Run! Elle shouted, and without thinking, I propelled myself forward, urgency fueling my limbs as the others followed. We raced through the narrow streets, fear propelling us like marionettes dancing on strings of panic. The sounds of shouting reverberated behind us, footsteps echoing as the darkness came alive with their pursuit. That I felt the knot of anxiety tighten in my stomach as we darted through a maze of alleys, a living labyrinth where shadows clung like phantoms. My thoughts spiraled as I kept Lily close to my side, every instinct screaming for her safety. Suddenly, Elle skidded to a halt, and the air crackled with tension. In front of us forested shadows and unseen depth. Threatened from a weathered, narrow passageway. In here. She urged urgently, pushing through the heavy darkness. That we stumbled inside, breathless, our bodies pressed tightly together in the dim confines of the hiding spot. The muffled sounds outside only heightened the tension. Fear bled through the walls around us, thick and suffocating, as we collapsed into silence. Are we safe here? Lily's voice trembled, reflecting the quiver of uncertainty in my own heart. I thought I was safe once, Elle murmured, her voice filled with regret and bitterness. But I learned that darkness finds those who try to escape it. An icy shiver crept through me. The past continued to loom like a specter, and the shadows now felt more insistent than ever. Before I could respond, a blaring alarm shattered the stillness, a panic-inducing reminder that it wasn't just the city that felt alive, was watching and waiting. Hope and fear tangled within me, the weight of it swirling dangerously. Without warning, a figure appeared in the doorway, silhouetted against the dim light. My heart raced as recognition flooded through me, a familiar face cloaked in a veil of uncertainty. Elle. What have you done? As the realization sunk in, terror gripped me once more. In this moment of desperate hope, we had stitched together a tapestry of intertwining fates. And unsettling truths loomed overhead, promising to unravel everything we thought we understood. The figure filled the doorway with an intensity that sent a fresh wave of panic surging through me. His face, half hidden in shadows, was unmistakable, a memory I had tried to bury rising to the surface like the tide, relentless and unavoidable. Jackson. Elle's voice quivered, an echo of disbelief laced with fear. Every muscle in my body tensed as I recognized the man we had once sought for help, a former ally entangled in our chaotic web. What are you doing here? I asked, my voice barely more than a whisper. The sudden intrusion felt like a violation of the fragile sanctuary we had built in that cramped passage. "I was tracking you," he replied evenly, but his eyes, usually so piercing, were clouded with confusion. "I didn't know they were on to you, Elle. I thought you were safe. Where's the rest of the team?" Elle stepped forward, her hands open and palms up, a gesture of vulnerability that had once been her shield. "I don't have time to explain. They're coming, Jackson. I need to get them out of the city now." A flicker of something crossed Jackson's features. Fear. Sorrow. "I couldn't be sure. You're putting everyone at risk," he said, shaking his head slightly. "You shouldn't have left without telling anyone." I felt Lily's grip tighten around my arm, realizing that my own heart had slowed to a cautious beat. The air crackled with unanswered questions and the weight of decisions we had yet to make. "Please," I managed to say, my voice a fragile thread. "We need help. We're being hunted." Jackson glanced back over his shoulder, the shadows outside crawling closer, pressing against the fabric of our hidden shelter. "I can't guarantee your safety. You don't know what they're capable of, especially now that they're aware of you." "Elle knows," Darren chimed in unexpectedly, his voice steady yet tinged with urgency. "She escaped them once. We have to trust her." The conflict within Jackson flickered like a flame caught in a gust of wind. "Trust?" he echoed, a bitter laugh escaping him. "You think trust can save you from the white masks? They don't just take lives, they take souls. You have no idea what you're inviting." "Then help us," I implored, desperation pushing the words from my lips. "We can't stay here. We didn't choose this fight, it came to us." For a moment, a stillness hung between us, suspended like tension in a taut string ready to snap. Jackson's eyes lingered on Elle, searching for answers, but all we had were fragments scattered across our past. "I don't know if helping you is the right choice," he said finally, his voice barely a whisper as though saying it aloud would ignite the flames of the confrontation we sought to escape. "But I can't let you walk into that darkness alone. If we're doing this, we need a plan." Just as relief washed over me, the wailing alarm outside morphed into the unmistakable melody of sirens in the distance. Panic spread like wildfire in the cramped space, igniting the urgency within us once more. Down the alley, Jackson instructed sharply, his eyes darting toward the small opening that led out of our makeshift refuge. "It's our best bet. We can't leave Elle." Lily cried out, her voice trembling with fear for the girl who wore her past like an open wound. "I won't leave you," Elle replied, a fierce determination igniting her blue gaze. "But we can't stay, it's not safe here." Every instinct urged me to cling to them, yet with every second, the crushing weight of our decisions pressed down harder. I nodded, swallowing my fear as I took Lily's hand tightly, letting the bond between us guide my steps. "Let us go then." We breached the threshold into the outside world, the shadows swallowing us whole as we raced into the alley. The sudden rush of cold air felt like a slap across my skin, heightening my sense of awareness. I felt alive, but the danger surged like an undercurrent beneath us, waiting to pull us back into the depths. Darren moved beside me, his presence a silent promise of solidarity. "We'll make it," he said, his voice a grounding force amidst the chaos, but as we pushed deeper into the narrow street, footsteps echoed behind us. The rhythm of our flight beat against the clamor of panic that filled my heart, every echo a haunting reminder that they were already on our scent. "Faster!" Elle urged as she led us through the labyrinthine paths, the buildings towering like sentinels bearing witness to our flight. Then, as if fate were cruelly toying with our hopes, a blinding light swept through the alley, illuminating us in stark contrast against the night. I froze, heart pounding, fear coursing through my veins like ice. "Stop right there!" A commanding voice boomed, cutting through the air like razor wire that we were trapped. I turned to Elle, her face etched with fear and resolve, only to see Jackson hesitating at the rear, torn between his allegiance to us and the darkness he had once escaped. "We don't have a choice," I shouted, adrenaline coursing through me as I grasped Lily's hand tighter, determination overcoming panic. Run! Elle screamed again, her voice stronger now, breaking through the paralyzing grip of shock. And in that moment, something in me awoke a primal instinct to survive that we bolted again, plunging into the darkened alley, my breath hitching as the sound of pursuit thundered behind us like a storm made flesh. Uncertainty snared my heart, the threads of our fate drawn taut in a terrifying game of cat and mouse. As we plunged deeper into the labyrinth, a heavy weight gathered in the core of my being, a foreboding sense that the further we ran, the closer we crept to an even darker truth. And just as the thought pierced through my mind, Jackson turned abruptly, his words sharp and filled with finality. I can't do this anymore. You'll never understand what's at stake. The world shifted, the shadows closing around us, locking us in a moment where choices could mean life or death as Jackson stepped back into the darkness, leaving an echo of uncertainty in his wake. Heart pounding, time almost felt like it had stopped, the shadow of betrayal loomed larger than the night itself. We were surrounded by darkness in more ways than one, and I couldn't help but wonder if our escape was merely an illusion, if the true nightmare had only just begun. The chase spiraled into chaos, the very fabric of our reality unraveling as we fled through the twisting alleys. Panic surged with every step, uncertainty clawing at my heart as the shadows stretched ominously around us. I focused on Lily's hand, her warmth a tether to the world I fought to protect. But doubt crept in, nagging at the edges of my resolve. Could we truly outrun the darkness that relentlessly pursued us? As we ducked into yet another narrow passage, I felt the familiar knot of fear gripping my stomach, the weight of betrayal still echoing in my soul. The closer we got to safety, the heavier that weight felt, like a specter haunting my every thought. Yet, as the shadows closed in, an unwavering determination ignited within me. No one would tear us apart. Elle. I called out, bursting with anxiety that took form in the urgency of my words. Where do we go now? Her eyes darted back to mine, a mix of fear and fierce determination pulsing through her gaze. Just a little further. We're almost there. She motioned ahead, and I pushed my legs to run harder, to amplify that glimmer of hope that had slipped into our path. Regrettably, that flicker blinded me to the darkness that snaked around the corners of our lives, a darkness that had the power to engulf us whole. Just as I thought we had carved a clear path, a voice boomed from behind. Stop! You're not getting away this time. Fear gripped at my throat, and for a moment, time froze. I turned to see a figure emerge from the shadows, silhouetted against the dim light. Darren, still trailing closely as his footsteps echoed ominously in our wake. My heart sank, tangled in the mix of emotions. The betrayal stung, yet the realization struck me like lightning: we were not alone in our fight. Keep running! I shouted, yanking Lily along with me as we darted deeper into the alley, desperately searching for a way out. We can't let them catch us. But the shadows within the city loomed larger now. They weren't just physical beings anymore, they represented everything that had come before us: the doubts, the betrayals, the haunting vestiges of our lost pasts. And just as we turned a corner, the cacophony of pursuit echoed louder, like a relentless wave crashing toward us. Then, as we stumbled toward what we hoped was safety, a piercing scream shattered the air. Elle stumbled, caught off guard as a figure lunged from the shadows, grabbing her arm with an iron grip. You thought you could escape? It rasped, and the world seemed to constrict around us. No. I lunged forward, my heart pounding with adrenaline as I reached desperately for her, but the second figure swept in quickly, mirroring the movement with an ease that made my skin crawl. Let her go. No. Elle's scream echoed in the hollow silence that followed as she wrestled against the shadows, trying to pull her into the depths. I felt the weight of despair crashing down, battling against the instinct to flee. But in that moment, a different truth broke free, intertwining nascent strength with vulnerability. A thought flitted through my mind: we would not let fear drive our choices. Lily, we need to help her. I'm not leaving you. Lily cried, her voice wobbly yet fierce, and in that heartbeat of determination, I found a surge of courage burning brighter than the fear that threatened to swallow us whole. Together. I shouted, and we charged forward, adrenaline fueling every instinct within us. As I closed the distance, I felt every syncopation of our heartbeat, the tether connecting us in a way that transcended fear. I reached Elle, my fingers brushing against hers as we pulled her free from the shadowy grasp that I in that fleeting moment, I glimpsed something shining through the chaos, something that flickered like a candle in the darkness. The connection tethering us glowed bright, filled with love and unyielding hope. "We've got you," I reassured her, and together, we broke free from the grasp that had tried to ensnare us. As we turned to run, Darren stood between us and the path ahead, a chilling uncertainty etched on his face as he flicked eyes from Elle to Lily and me. "What are you doing?" he challenged, his voice cold, searching for the space between our convictions. "You think this is better? Better than hiding in fear and losing everything we care about?" I shot back, feeling the emotion swell within me, squeezing through the tightly wound threads of dread. "You don't understand, fighting is our only option. Stay back." The second figure warned, laughter mingling with the malice that dripped from their lips. But the tide had turned, I could feel it deep within, a shift igniting something unbreakable among us that we edged back together, hearts racing, breaths mingling as we prepared to face the onslaught. "Lily, hold my hand," I exclaimed, and she nodded, pulses synchronized in shared defiance. No longer just running from shadows, we stood together as a radiant force against the darkness. In that moment, I saw the shimmering light pulling us toward an unexpected twist in our journey. With every ounce of courage, we faced the figures looming before us, shadows eclipsed by the vivid spark that united us. And as we prepared for what lay ahead, the battle for our very souls ignited, pulsing through the city that had once tried to cage us, and just before the darkness encompassed everything, I knew that together, we would forge our destiny, casting off the shackles of the past. As the storm surged around us, I took a deep breath and realized, we would not just survive, we would fight for one another and for the love we carried within. "On 3. I called out, adrenaline surging as Lily nodded and Elle's eyes blazed back with fierce determination. 1, 2, and the moment we all screamed 3. As one united force, we stepped forward, fear behind us, illuminated by hope, ready to carve a new path through the darkness that surrounded us all. In the turmoil of emotions, the shadows began to fall away, the burdens of yesteryear slipping through our fingers as we stepped into the unknown. Together, we would rewrite our story. We were light within the storm, relentless and unyielding. No one would take that from us again. As the thunder of our fight roared around us, I gasped out the final resolution burning within me: we are not victims, we are warriors. In unison, we charged ahead, fueled by every emotion and connection that bound us, embracing the promise of a new beginning as the foundation of all we'd ever sought thrummed beneath our feet. The darkness could try, but it would never extinguish our light. And all I felt in that moment was steadfast resolve.